A long time, right?
Yep.
Yes, now. Okay. Call this meeting to order. Town of Cedar Point regular meeting Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. Welcome everybody here. You get through the snow. Happy to see that. It's rough for a few days there. I could barely get out the morning of the snow. Okay, tonight Jeff Duncan's here to lead us in the invocation. After that, we'll stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, once again, we bow and thank you for your gift of freedom, for the ability to gather here. We pray for this board of commissioners that you would grant them wisdom and guidance and direction, grant them to lead well for the citizens that are here, that you would just use this meeting to further the town and benefit the town. So we pray for wisdom, guidance, direction, and protection. We pray for unity, and that all that is done here tonight would both serve well this town and would glorify you. So we just look to you and thank you for the privilege of coming before your throne and ask for your blessing on this meeting and this town. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jeff.
Take care, sir.
Good to see you. I see you here and at the gym.
Yes, sir.
I've actually asked Alicia to call him.
Yeah, I'd like to add a closed session for attorney-client privilege to the agenda tonight. You put that on 8A. Hope everybody's had a chance to look at the agenda and the consent agenda. Are there any other changes other than that? If not, I entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda, the consent agenda as presented.
Got a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Here's none. It's passed. Thank you. Okay, we've got a special use permit. We're gonna wait on Buddy, I guess, see what he's gonna do.
Yeah, so Alicia's joining us via Zoom so she could watch the meeting. And she reached out to him and he said he forgot, but he'll be here in a few minutes.
Oh, we're talking up the storm. Head and start back.
Did y'all see the air accident we had at Cherry Point?
Oh.
News?
Yeah, I saw that.
The what?
At 7:47.
Yes, I saw that, and it wasn't due to the ice.
There was no ice. No, it came in heavy and fast, and he forgot to put his flaps in, so he floated over the runway until 3,500 feet, and he only had like 4,500, maybe 4,900 more. And he had 660,000 pounds.
Were there people on it, passengers?
Just a couple. They were cargo riders. Yeah, that's all.
How do you forget to bring? I'm not a pilot, and I don't have to do
Well,
that.
So what happened? How did it end?
So he as soon as he touched down, he basically stood with all his weight on his brakes because like calf press, like and he has a skid mark from 3,500 all the way off the road. And then he went 100 feet off the runway into the dirt northeast of the center mat at Cherry Point. And they had to bring out a bunch of matting and tow him back on and ruined some engines, ruined his landing gear, ruined his brakes. So all that has to be replaced. So we just put it in the heavy pits for National to come fix their plane.
Who did it belong to?
National Airlines,
Charter.
charter, yeah, chartering airline. They're a cargo airline,
Oh, wow.
and they were bringing stuff back. So
I guess he's looking for a job now.
I don't know. He's not military, so
Oh,
It's oops.
yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know anything about how they
That's an
handle it.
expensive oops.
That's an expensive oops, because he went off the runway, he went into the snow berm where they had pushed all the snow. And so it ruined two of the engines on that side of the plane.
So what he did not do is check the.
Yeah,
And his first officer didn't configure the flaps.
something. I don't know that much about flying, but I was talking to the CO and he said the three things are flaps, lights and gear, or
Yeah.
gear, flaps and lights or something like that. But you are reciting that mantra in your brain as you're coming in, gear, flaps, lights, to make sure that you've thought about it, they're down and you're not landing on the belly. And either he was thinking too hard about that and singing that song and forgetting to actually do anything with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I asked if it was possible that it was just equipment failure, like maybe he tried to put them down, and the CO said,
No.
yeah, those don't fail like that.
That's exciting. Which day was that?
That was Friday night, like at 9:30 p.m. Yeah, I got a call Saturday morning at like 7 o'clock in the morning. Hey.
Yeah, depending on where that plane came from, he probably flew for about 19 hours and he was
Sure.
probably tired as hell.
He's a normal Jeff.
Yeah.
He just Jeff. I just put him. That's what he does. Five.
Hmm.
Cross the continent.
What
All and stuff.
Kayla does, like.
Yep.
Pilot.
Anyway, that was our excitement this week.
Good story.
But thankfully, nobody was hurt. I guess one guy got a rope burn because when they exited the plane, they used the rope instead of the ramps. And it was one of the civilian crew. Hadn't been trained on the rope.
Insult in.
Or his hands.
He did. But he'll be all right. Yeah, but no injuries and just no damage to our stuff, no environmental damage.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. That's fast. You must have been working.
Yeah, but actually, I haven't forgot about it.
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
All right, we got a special use permit application, SUP 2025-01. Request to allow a special use permit for commercial street yard display on property located at 520 Cedar Point Boulevard. Entertain a motion to open the hearing.
I'll make a motion to open hearing.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, open hearing. Okay, David.
All right. With this being a request for a special use permit, the decision will be made by a simple majority vote of the board. This hearing is a quasi judicial evidentiary hearing. That means it is like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this board must make its decision. These rules are different from other types of land use decisions like rezoning cases. The board's discretion is limited. The board must base its decision upon competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record. A quasi judicial decision is not a popularity contest. It is a decision constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based on the facts presented. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited. This meeting is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties withstanding have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Parties are limited to the applicant, the town of Cedar Point, and any individuals who can show they will suffer special damages. Other individuals may serve as witnesses when called on by the board. General witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. If you plan on discussing impacts on property values and projections about impacts of increased traffic, you must be qualified as an expert and must provide the factual evidence upon which you base your expert opinion. Witnesses must swear or affirm their testimony. At this time, we will administer the oath for all individuals who intend to provide witness testimony.
Yeah. I will raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay.
All right, disclosure. The parties to this case are entitled to an impartial board. A board member may not participate in this hearing if she or he has a fixed opinion about the matter, a financial interest in the outcome of the matter, or a close relationship with an affected person. Does any board member have any partiality to disclose and recusal to offer? Hearing none. The parties to this case have rights for any ex parte communications to be disclosed. Ex parte communication is any communication about the case outside of the hearing. That may include site visits as well as conversations with parties, staff, or the general public. Does any board member have any site visits to disclose? Hearing none. Does any board member have any conversations or other communications to disclose? Hearing none. At this time, I will go ahead and introduce the application that was presented for the hearing. The application was provided in your packet, and I will work through it here. You'll see the applicant here is listed as Albert Guthrie Jr. Contact information is provided. Information about the property. The property is located at 520 Cedar Point Boulevard. I'll go on down to the aerial map to kind of show where this is located. Here's Bud's Lane off to the west. And then you've got Bell Street on the east here on Cedar Point Boulevard. This is the area that was the former Napa Auto Parts store, just so everybody can orient themselves. One thing I will point out on the application, it specifically asks for an address of 520. I want to point out that on this map, you'll notice that 520 actually crosses over two different parcels. Therefore, there's two different parcels that were noticed as part of the hearing for this request. Everybody see that property line cutting through the building there? So I just want to point that out to you. So if any special use permit would apply to both parcels to whatever extent that it's described. All right, so in order to be entitled to a special use permit, a number of standards have to be met. Standard A is that the proposed use conforms to the character of the neighborhood concerning the location, type, and height of buildings or structures, and type and extent of landscaping on the site. The applicant responded yes. B, the adequate measures will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic hazards and traffic congestions on public roads, and the applicant responded yes. C, that adequate utilities, water, sewer, drainage, electric, etc. are available for the proposed use. The applicant responded yes. D, that the proposed use will not be noxious or offensive by reason of vibration, noise, odor, dust, smoke, or gas. The applicant responded that the outdoor furniture display will not be offensive. E, that the establishment of the proposed use will not impede the orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted within the land development district. The applicant responded that the outdoor furniture display will not impede the orderly development and improvement of surrounding properties for uses permitted within the land development district. Standard F, that the establishment, maintenance, and or operation of the proposed use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. The applicant responded that the display will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. Standard G, that the use will be operating in compliance with all local, state, and federal laws and will not become a nuisance by creating criminal activities or public disturbance. The applicant responded that the outdoor display will not become a nuisance by creating criminal activity or public disturbance. The property was noticed and letters were sent out to adjoining property owners as required under our ordinance. Attached, you will see a site plan that was provided by the applicant with an indication, I believe, of where the desired location would be for the outdoor display areas shown in pink. And that is the application as presented.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. So you want to come up to the podium here and just tell us what your plan is on this, on the furniture and Anything that can help us on your,
Yeah,
the questions down there, the list of questions?
really, interested in doing a display on the sidewalk. Put some outdoor Hollywood furniture out there, and then a small area right by the sign, there's a parking spot, actually, it's not a parking spot, area there, it's not marked. Put a few things right there, just make it look like a furniture store.
What is it, just a gap of pavement right there? or
It's under the
is it-
sign, and then you can see it, like, there's a sign right there. Yeah.
You know, I don't even notice it, and you know I walk through there every day, cause I see you out there on the tractor working on your building and everything. So
But yeah, I mean.
that's my walking path right through
Yeah,
there.
the satellite, that shows the line there, so.
Yeah, I don't even notice it when I walk through, and I actually walk on that sidewalk.
Or I guess that would sound like it's over there.
Yeah, so it's paved like the rest of it. It's just not marked as a parking
As a
space like the
parking
rest of it.
space, so it's open space. Okay.
So it's not really. And actually, it's gonna be temporarily, hopefully, when I move back to the old building.
Are they rebuilding? Is it gonna be rebuilt?
Yeah, we're actually waiting for plans for architect and engineer to finish that.
Has anybody got any questions for Buddy before we move on to the questions?
I have two questions for Buddy and two questions for Mr. Reeve, so how you might know it. My questions for Buddy would be, I think I think you just answered one, if this is considered a temporary location as opposed to your original location. And you have a display at the original location, and you're adding this at least for temporarily, so at least for the foreseeable future, you're going to have two display areas at both locations.
No, I won't be, once the old place it'll be two for right now, yeah. But once I move out of this building.
Right, so basically, when you move out of this building, it will transfer over back to the other. And I mean, before you go, anybody else for Buddy, before I ask my question for Mr. Reed? Just to refresh me and maybe the other members on the board, this special use is kind of like all the other special uses that we do in town, and correct me if I'm wrong. You know, we have some displays in town that precede the UDO, so they're what I would call non-conforming. Is that a correct terminology?
Pre-existing non-conforming.
And I'm not sure what Mr. Guthrie's previous his current display at the original location. I can't remember if we have a special use on that or it's non-conforming.
That display predated the adoption of our language for a special use permit for a commercial street art display.
And my question for the new location, like we handle a bar, the special use is not tied to the company or the business, but it's tied to the location, correct? It's the special use would be tied to that address.
That is correct.
Okay. And the way we handle bars or any other special use, that special use is valid, you know, as long as the business is there. And if the business leaves that location, that special use is still valid for, I believe, 6 months. And technically, another business could go into that location and would have use of that display area.
So all uses are considered finished after 6 months of non-operation.
But if Mr. Guthrie left that location and another furniture store or another business came into that location and wanted to have an outdoor display, if it was within the 6 month time frame, that would be a legitimate use.
If you limit the special use permit to poly furniture as was requested, then that would be what the next person could put in there. If you put that as one of your limitations, but otherwise, if you just simply set aside a display area, then yes, the special use permit would run with the land, not the individual, so as long as it were continued. Now, keep in mind though, under our ordinances, the special use permit for a commercial street yard display shall expire 5 years after issuance unless a subsequent special use permit for continued use is issued prior to expiration. So there is a kind of cutoff on that as well. That after 5 years, they automatically expire. Unless
For
the
this use or for all uses in town?
just for the commercial street yard displays that was put in there. In case the board at some point decided that you were getting too many of them and did not want to continue them indefinitely.
Now, could we put any conditions on this special use?
If you find that they're reasonably necessary to meet the standards.
Thank you. I have comments after we go for out of public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions for Buddy? Okay, we're gonna bring your questions back up for me, David.
I had one thing, and this is the conversation where I sit down was, looking at the ordinance, maybe at some point in the future, you could tie the square footage on the outdoor display to size of the inside of the building, say, 10,000 square foot, 10% of this outside display. So, I mean, that's just a thought. Then you'd have a little more control over when you agree to something, how much can be used, how much outdoor space you can have. But anyway, that's just an idea that I'll put out there. Anyway, you don't even.
We may, but you can sit there. You'll be fine right there. We're gonna go over those questions. You remember all those questions? We're gonna go over each one of them at a time.
I think in your case, it wouldn't even be 10%. Of
Yeah.
the sidewalk in that little area out there, it wouldn't even meet the 10% criteria.
It wouldn't be 10%, but I was just thinking, you have a 3,000 square foot indoor showroom, then you got, that's like 10,000 square feet outside, that valley, whatever, that's just a thought.
Okay. These questions are hard to fit to what Buddy has going. So I'm gonna start with question A. Does anybody have any problems with that question A? Or any questions on question A? Everybody's good with that? Question B, same thing. We'll go through every one of them. I want to just note if you guys, each one are okay with that question. But okay. Question C. Question D. Question E. Question F. Question G. Hey, everybody's good with all the questions and fine with those answers? Okay.
I do have just a general comment and maybe one recommendation before we make a decision. We're
Now,
getting.
this is just the questions. I'm
Well,
moving
I'll
on.
stop.
I'm moving on
I'll
from
wait.
there.
I'll wait.
Mayor, I do have a question.
Good.
Mayor Guthrie, it's been a long time. It's good to see you, sir. This board has to make decisions based on sworn testimony. And so I'm going to ask you if the application that you filed is correct and true to your knowledge.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any more questions for David? Or Any comments? I think John has a comment.
Yeah, I do have a comment and generally, we've seen, I don't know if it's by happenstance, but we've seen an uptick in these sorts of requests. We just.
We're still in closed hearing.
Right, okay.
See what I'm saying?
I'll stop.
Gotcha. Okay, if you haven't got any more questions for David or Buddy, I'm gonna ask for a motion to close the hearing.
Motion.
Got a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
All right.
Now open the hearing. Okay, now.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve of conditioners or to deny the request, and you can.
I just want to make just a comment and maybe a recommendation. You know, I don't know if it's a slippery slope, but we are seeing a number of these types of requests. We have a number of pre or non-conforming that predate our UDO. And I know this is a special circumstance for Mr. Guthrie because he has to operate, you know, basically at another location and you know, eventually go back to his original location. I just don't like the idea of having this special use in place after he goes back to his primary location. So my recommendation to the board would make this special use conditioned on his actual occupancy of the store, and then basically terminate the permit for that location upon his relocation back to his primary place of business.
Can we come up with a language to do that?
Is that allowed?
While we do generally give special use permits to the land, not to own them, I think given the unique circumstances of this case, that would be perfectly acceptable.
Okay. That can be added to our motion as a special circumstance. I think we need to limit the displays to poly furniture that's in there. Anybody else has anything you want to add into it? If not, I'll entertain a motion. But
Are you okay with both of those conditions?
believe me, but we do not either.
We're seeing.
Entertain a motion.
Cool.
I'll make that motion,
Then all the talking, right?
if, well, try to be quiet, Mr. Man. I will make that motion, and Neil, I'll need your help to craft it in such a way that it meets the legality. What would you suggest, Neil?
I'm right.
Okay.
And thank you.
More than 5 words, I won't be able to remember it.
Yeah, that's what I'm right. That's it. Language that I've got at this point is this special use permit will expire when an applicant has rebuilt his original furniture store and relocated his furniture store operations to its original location. It would be helpful to have the address of the original furniture store. 600. Cedar Point Boulevard. So this special use permit will expire when applicant has rebuilt his original furniture store at 600 Cedar Point Boulevard and relocated its furniture store operation to its original location. That's the motion.
You had Polly.
That's fine.
I could read it again, but that's still moving.
Can I have that?
Okay, got a motion on the floor.
Can I keep it?
All approved.
Aye.
Good. Buddy, you're approved.
Yeah, thank board and all of us being late.
Well, and we're proud of it to be, for you to be able to move forward after tragedy like you went through. And, I mean, I know it's a tremendous loss to you and your family,
Do they have any known cause?
but you know, Cedar Point is your family and it's a tremendous loss to Cedar Point. We're glad you guys have moved forward like you have.
You have a date yet? You have a date, a completion date yet?
Nah, I got, please get plans in my hand.
Yeah,
that, you know,
they give you an idea once you get started.
yes, a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a metal building, you never know.
Yeah.
It should go fast, but
You never can tell.
we're on temporary vacation now.
Does it work for you? Does it work for you there?
It's, yeah, we can make it work.
Was the other one too far back off the main road?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's fine.
it's out of sight, out of mind over there.
This one I should be all right.
Well, that's good. Still, it's out there. You need our help. You call us, man.
And actually, it's the fire, they think it, well, it started in front window of the witness stick out there that night and noticed that, it was in the left front window and like lamp caught on fire. So, yeah, or it could have been socket it plugged into or just followed the cord or something too. But they couldn't actually determine the exact cause of it. The lights get tore up.
Well, maybe you can get it done in a year. That'd be good if you can. It takes time to work through them things now.
Happy for you.
Be time for you to retire.
Yeah.
All right, buddy, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Good luck.
Okay, Kurt, you're up. Big speech. Tell us all about the snow and the wrecks and all this stuff been going on.
Good evening to everybody. We fared a lot better than most of the county with the snow that came in. We had a couple wrecks, but nothing major in Cedar Point. The roadway, main roadway got cleared pretty fast. I think when I was out, the side roads were the ones that were left icy and stuff, but we were still okay from what I saw. The first day, everyone in Cedar Point was really good. They actually stayed in the houses, did not come out. The second day, everyone decided to venture out, and that's where we had our.
I went out the first day
Did you?
early.
4-wheel drive, right?
Yeah, buddy.
There you go.
I went out with front wheel drive. Did fine.
No, that's, anyway,
It took
Had to
me-
check on things.
Yeah,
That's part of my job.
in Cedar Point, we had no problems, no break-ins, no type of crime during that time. A lot of times you really have a lot of problems during that time frame because of response time from law enforcement. But we didn't have any of those problems, which is really good. We picked up on 3 new cases that I'll talk to you tomorrow about from Cedar Point. One is going to turn out to be a probably a really good case of dealing with Dunkin' Donuts. And we'll get into that more, you know, as we tell everybody. But other than that, we've got 4 more sheriff deputy units with radar units. So we have a total of 8 radar units in the county right now. And believe me, they're letting the county know that we've got radar units now. So they're stopping them. They're not giving tickets that don't need to be. We're educating the public, which that's part of traffic enforcement. And
People just got where they just drive so fast. It's crazy.
if you're at 49 in Cedar Point, you're gonna hold a pink copy. Anything over that, you're gonna come visit me in court. And that's just the way a lot of the deputies.
I think out there by Crying,
So-
Piney Green, they had a tractor trailer run through the trees there and wrecked today. Right there on 24.
So, but other than that, everything's been acceptable in Cedar Point.
It's good. That's good. It's good to hear.
That's it.
All right, thank you, sir. Be safe.
Thank you.
All right, David.
All right, I have kind of quite a bit to go over with you tonight, just in different various updates. But the first of them is a celebration that I hope that you join me in recognizing Jane for 10 years with the town of Cedar Point as of January 20th.
Wow. Now where's the cake? Now, see, we should have had cake tonight.
You and you that interviewed me.
Where's
Where's the cake?
the
We should've
cake?
had
We should have
cake.
cake and stuff.
Well, we're planning a little something, but I want all the staff here to join in with it.
Well,
Next thing on the list is, Ken had been out sick for a while. He'd actually been in the hospital. And, just the other day, his dad passed away. So, he's been out quite a bit, but when everybody's back here, we'll.
how's his health? Is he good now?
He came back to work for a few days and was doing well.
Anyone?
Yep.
That's good.
So he's getting there. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing something with her here in the office, and I'll send out an invite for any of you that want to join us. Give you an update, something that I told you about probably back in October or so of last year. That was Senate Bill 382, which was a bill that addresses the issue of downzoning. Basically prohibits the town from downzoning property without the consent of affected property owners. What that in very simple terms means, we really can't make our ordinances more restrictive than they are now without probably jumping through a lot of hoops. Because nearly every time you make a change to your ordinances, it could be viewed as a downzoning unless what you're doing is making something easier to do. So if you were to, let's just say, do away with a special use permit for these displays and make them permitted uses, I don't know anyone that can consider that downzoning. But besides making it easier and less restrictive, nearly every ordinance that we could adopt could be considered downzoning. That's the way the law is written now. I think there's going to be quite a bit of uproar across the state of North Carolina. I don't think this legislation will stay on the books very long. I think this next legislative session, there will be some changes to it. To what extent, I don't know. But there are some towns that were in the process of having recently adopted a new UDO as we did years ago. Part of that process is you basically do away with all of your old ordinances and adopt the new UDO. Well, as part of that, that certainly would have done some downzoning, and that legislation had a 6-month look back period. So it pretty much invalidated all of their zoning ordinances. They currently have none. I think somebody could make a strong legal argument that they have no ordinances at this point, but so there's certainly some fallout, a lot of issues that are being raised. Fortunately, we didn't have any ordinances in that 6-month period that I think can be contested or would be considered void at this point. The few that we did have rezonings or text amendments were making things more lenient, if you will. we were allowing things that previously didn't allow. The car wash, for example, we didn't previously have anything, so I think we're good, but just to let you know, anything that the planning board might be looking at going forward, we're going to have to really take a close look at that to make sure that we're not violating that new law. You may have seen, those of you on the Cedar Fest committee, it's time to start meeting again. So get cranked up for this coming year for that. From a scheduling standpoint, we need to, if the board is still interested in doing it this year, schedule your board retreat. We usually do that sometime in the month of February. Is that something that you all are still interested in doing this year? And if so, we need to talk through and pick a date for that. It's generally been easier for us to do that with everybody present than trying to do it back and forth through
I
email.
think we need to do it. I think it's a good thing.
You like to do them on Fridays?
Mhm.
What are you thinking? What day?
I don't have any particular recommendation. I don't know what.
We have the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th.
I'm open. Any day for me.
Let's see here.
To give a little time, I would say either the 14th, 21st, or 28th. Next 7.
The only day I have an issue with the 28th.
14, 21, good for everybody else.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
This is
21 gives you a little more time to prepare for it. That's fine with me. That's whatever's, like I said, either one.
whatever, I'll figure it out. I'm happiest with the 14th or the 28th, but I think we can do the 28th. So
So 14th,
if we can do it, if not, then
y'all just want to spend Valentine's Day together, don't you?
Oh, that's precious.
no, if you can't do the 14th because there's not space available or it's not gonna work out or whatever it is, I just need to know in advance so I can switch my RDO and have that day off.
So the 14th,
I can do the 14th.
I can do the 14th.
I'm off.
No,
all right,
I will call.
February 14th.
you have it on them days if you want.
God, I love you, but not that much.
All right, next thing on my list, we are in the process of doing the website refresh. And the company put together a little pictorial here for us of what it could look like. Of course, that's just a photo they dropped in there, but town logo, bar across the top, some kind of quick shortcuts right here on the main screen, using a mega menu format. So when you click on one of these, you don't have to click in it, drop down, and then scoot to the right, hope that you line it up just right for that menu to drop. It'll be the large menu. It will have an alert banner, so if we need to send out any kind of alerts, it'll pop up at the top of the screen. This would be kind of what one of the pages would look like for just a general text screen. And then one of the questions that they had for us was a color option. Did we have any preference on this top? They initially drew it as this blue. You can see in each of these colors, this kind of somewhat opaque blue versus a white. Any preference?
The blue stands out more,
I think the blue's better, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
White's kind of just simple.
All right,
which is hard to see the choices.
which is why I think they did that as their primary.
Yeah.
I just want it simple for a citizen to be able to find something. Easy.
Well, the questions we get asked about the most are permits and applications, our plans and ordinances from, surveyors and engineers, and then the garbage and recycling. So those are right there. Can't really miss.
Yeah, they're in blue.
Yep. So, so we're going to keep working through that process while they get all this updated. We're continuing to, we'll be sending them some more pictures, and we'll be working on that over the next few weeks. We do have approval on the .gov domain name. So that was one of the things that we were doing as part of the grant process, for some more security for the website to go from the .org to the .gov. The new website will move to the .gov website. We'll keep the existing one on the .org until the new one's ready to go, at which point we'll start transitioning all the email addresses and stuff as well. But that has been approved. A little bit about the park, Boathouse Creek Park. We had talked about before not receiving the Big Rock Foundation grant for the gym improvements, the possibility of moving forward with applying for a CAMA access grant to build the bathroom facilities out there at Boathouse Creek Park. Just want to make sure before I start the process and put a whole lot of work into that, that is still the direction and desire of the board. Yes.
Yep.
All right. That application deadline is April 25th. So I'll be putting some of that stuff together. In order to meet their requirements, I may have to engage our engineers, Tidewater Associates, to draw some plans and that sort of stuff, and continue working through the construction drawings that we've previously done. So we might have some initial expenses on that sort of stuff, but we'll be putting together that application packet with it. We did close, for those of you that may not have noticed, we did close the park during the snowstorm. We had one resident say something on Facebook about, why close it? I like to go out there and walk and this sort of thing. And we didn't stop people from walking out there. The reason for closing the park was if we didn't, we would have had people doing donuts out there in the open field the entire time. And in fact, they did do donuts and destroy some of the front of the park, where it was not closed off. And we are continuing to see people go out there at night, every single night. Sometimes just hanging out, just sitting there, sometimes making steamy windows. Sometimes you'll see them passing around something lit, possibly a cigarette or possibly something else. And so and we have them going out there, I think it was January 5th or something like that. We had a Mustang that went out there and was just doing donuts in the back parking lot, running it up really bad.
There was one of those doing that at Western Park, during the snowstorm.
Yeah. So I guess the question that I have is, at what point does the board want me to look into closing the park at night, at least for some period of time, so that people kind of get in the habit of expecting it to be closed as opposed to expecting it to be open?
Yeah, I can vent on that. My previous job, we used to close. Onslow County does the same thing. At 5:30, they block the gate. If you want to get in, you park at the front and you walk in. So I think if you're having those issues because of the management that you have in place, I think it's necessary.
You just got to have a plan to close and open it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to close at 5:30.
No, I didn't say 5:30. I'm
no,
just saying
but
other
you know what I
people.
mean.
I don't like that either, but I feel like
I think Ford Macon's 8 o'clock, and they close at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, I think.
And that's reasonable.
the only thing about that is you got to have, dependability, 7 days a week. Got to have somebody open it
You
and
gotta
close
have
it.
somebody open close it. That's all.
And that,
I'm
that's,
for closing it. You gotta have somebody to do it.
About the gate, you can set a time.
I'm sorry?
Gate, you can get the timer put on, open at a certain time. Close at a certain
I
time.
mean, that technology works for
I mean,
a
if you-
chicken coop. Can't it work on a
You
gate?
just don't want to close anybody in the park.
Well, that's what happens. That's the bad thing about somebody's in there.
Yeah.
And then you shut the gate.
it is well needed. I mean, the issues we used to have when I was in Moorhead and everything. I mean, vandalism and everything. If you can restrict it a certain percentage, is better than nothing. And I think the gate, like Frankie mentioned, I think you could take the value of what you're going to pay somebody an hour, because you just can't pay somebody 30 minutes.
You can pay somebody just to close down the park.
Yeah. So if you look at it, you'll have an hour in the morning, or however you want to work your staff. But let's just say 7 hours. If you just have somebody, you're still going to pay somebody 7 hours to lock that gate. And if you do it mathematically, that gate will probably pay for itself. You know, I mean, to me, I would highly recommend it. I've said that all along when I first saw the, you know, being able to get in there and everything. I'm like, this is gonna be a problem eventually. And it will continue to be a problem. You know,
It'd be a bigger problem when we get a bathroom than it is.
it
now.
will. And
I mean, all we're doing now
Yes.
is losing grass and
Mhm.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's aggravating for us, but I mean, when we put a bathroom out there, there's no telling what we're gonna.
yeah, the bathrooms bring another animal, another element. You know, you'll have kids try to start fires inside the bathrooms with paper towels on the floor. I mean, you'll have
Yeah.
all those things that will happen.
Yeah, the plan to address some of those issues with the bathrooms would be that they would be locking after self-locking after a certain time. And then have motion sensors after a certain time as well. So if somebody's in there after hours, they've stayed in there to the doors have locked. Then it would create an alert that, hey, there's motion inside this bathroom. To do something with it, but, well, we'll try to put together some sort of plan, on how to address this. To put in some sort of
I got
gate.
one question. Are
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
able to, because of the grant, are you able to put up a gate at that property?
Yeah.
You are, okay.
We took a gate down.
Yeah. Okay. I need to put it back up.
Well, it was all fenced all the way along the front of it
And the whole front was fenced.
All right.
Can we include the gate and grant?
that I don't know.
I don't think they'll pass that, not camo. Yeah.
But we'll work on putting together a plan. I may, if it's okay with the board, just when I have the opportunity, go out there and lock it late at night. And then we'll open up in the morning some days, just so that it will discourage some people when they go out there and see that it's locked a couple times. Hopefully they won't come back.
Yeah.
Hopefully just kind of get the message to them that, hey, it closes.
Signage is a key, you know, no matter what signage you put up there, they don't read it. But it's still, you know, it's an opportunity to, you know, just educate, get it out there as soon as possible so they can start putting two and two together, make sure it's well lit. You know, so they understand that the sign is lit, it's not in the dark area. So.
All right. We'll move forward with that. See what it will cost to do a gate. No.
No, they're not cheap.
Right.
Depending on what kind you wanna put.
Yeah,
It's a retreat topic.
it's something like the neighborhoods, some of the neighborhoods have those gates that.
Yeah, we'll get into that more detail. But I just want to let you know early on, it wasn't too much of a problem. People go out there, you know, one night a week, 2 nights a week. Now I'm seeing on the cameras,
Oh.
you know, one group comes in at 9 o'clock, another one comes in at 11, and a third group's coming in at 1 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes they're just hanging out, and you know, like I said, sometimes you can tell other things are going on, but not what we need out there at night. Probably the biggest topic I wanted to go over with you this evening would be transportation related issues. Give you an update on the request for First Street. If you'll recall, I pointed out to you that there had been a request to possibly move First Street a little bit to the east, take up a little bit of the property from the furniture store there, in exchange for that access. DOT's response on that is that it is not feasible to do that. Their preference is that all roads intersect at as much of a 90-degree angle as possible. We currently intersect at near 90 at the edge of that curve. And when you relocate the road over a little bit, because of the curvature of the road, the site triangle changes, and they would still require the closing of that nearest driveway to the boathouse. So they are not willing to move forward with cutting in First Street as long as that driveway at the boathouse is still open. This spring, you may have seen it in the newspaper, but just want to make sure everybody's aware of it. There is a plan to repave from the Swansboro bridges to Old Highway 58. Starts this spring through the summer of 26. Contractor has any time during that time period that they can work on this project. They'll actually start on the other side of the intersection. I think 450 feet past the intersection in Cape Carteret, all the way to Moorhead as well. So it's a large contract. Not sure when they will work on the different segments. But that segment in Cedar Point should be repaved within the next year and a half. The reason they did not include the intersection itself is because of the slip lane project that's also taking place at the same time, where they will be putting the slip lanes to get onto the island and also up to Maysville. You may have seen they've already started on some of the utility work out there. That's what they're doing, is they're getting that ready.
They gonna do it at night?
The paving and all that?
Nope.
Not that I know of.
Why not?
They probably will.
I mean, everywhere you go,
Yeah.
other than here, they do it at night.
Yeah,
You go to Raleigh, Wilmington, wherever
They
you
need
go,
to
they
do it at night.
Yeah, especially if they're gonna do it during tourist season.
Jacksonville, they
Oh,
do
God.
it, they do it at night.
And I just haven't heard that from DOT yet, that's part of their requirements. We have started the process of replacing the street signs. You may have seen some of the new ones going up, the guys out there working. We're not finished with it, and then we noticed that some were damaged or missing since we started the process. So once we get finished with the whole process, then we'll identify the remaining ones and get those put up as well.
Cause those are being stolen and damaged after being put up?
No, we had a truck hit two of them, two different incidences where
Oh.
vehicles struck them. There is some proposed work on Bell Street. I mentioned to you before, there was the grant opportunity to clean the ditches along Bell Street. That project was picked up by the county and has been sent to the engineers. Some land development has already been assigned to that project. They have ordered the new concrete pipe to go under the road. There's 7 locations that they will be replacing the pipe, 5 driveways, and the 2 actually going under Bell Street. And so they'll be cleaning the ditch, completely regrading it to engineer specs, putting in the new pipe, and fixing the road back with the larger 18-inch diameter pipes. That should start within the next couple of weeks. Sunland said as soon as they get the pipe in, they can start putting it on their schedule to get that done.
Some water.
They're gonna repair the driveways too.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks.
We have been asked if the town would support a resolution. It has not been prepared yet. But NCDOT has finally found some funds for a safety project to fix some people will call it a fix, other people may not, but to convert the Taylor Notion Road and Highway 58 intersection into a roundabout.
Wow.
So that is something that Cape Carteret
Don't ask for my signature on it.
has requested. Cape Carteret is in favor of it. Carteret County, it should be going before their board in the near future if it hasn't already, for their support as well. Wanted to get the board's feedback on that. All right.
I don't see how it can work.
Gary let it go for that, but traffic trouble.
You'll have to widen it quite a bit.
Well, everybody
Well, I'm
is
thinking.
running wide open when they get up right there.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drop down to 5 miles an hour right there? Go around the roundabout and then crank it back up to 65? Cause I mean, that's what they run through there.
Do. Not supposed to. but
It's
they
four,
do.
it's
Yeah.
45
45
zone.
zone.
I mean, we're
They
60.
changed it. They're getting ready to change it.
I know,
to
we're
35.
safe.
Swansboro
So
to Jacksonville
Taylor
is
Notion Road
75.
would be changed to 35, but I haven't
I
heard
mean,
anything
I
about
just
Highway
stated
58.
facts.
New Taylor Notion.
58 is 45 now.
Yeah.
That's part about the snow.
I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
they actually stop the rate of traffic accidents, because it seems to me that people cannot figure that trash out.
Well, it does, when it doesn't reduce the number as it often does, it does reduce the severity of accidents. And that intersection has at least had 1 fatality
Oh, I
and
know.
a lot of serious accidents.
Why does the DOT need a resolution for it?
They're just
State-
want to
state
make
road.
sure there's local support for it.
I mean, I just seen
They
some
don't like
funky
single
stuff in
traffic.
those.
They want
Yeah,
somebody
They
to take
they won't put a
blame,
light in there.
blame other than, if they can put our road down here, I might do a resolution.
Yeah.
Little jut, you can't even tell it's not 90 degrees. Oh my gosh, DOT is hard to work with.
I thought it was Cape Carteret one resolution.
DOT road, state road.
DOT was asking the, Cape Carteret to provide one and Carteret County to provide one. They said it wouldn't hurt if we provided one, but it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
We'll
I would take ourselves out of that.
Well,
Don't even wanna, yeah. Well, welcome to that.
the last transportation.
Mary Ann do that,
That's what I'm saying. You just do that.
like she gets big bucks.
Yeah.
The last transportation related issue is to let you know that I had a meeting with some DOT officials about some modeling that was done. Considering the idea of a bypass around Bow, Cape Carteret, Cedar Point, and Swansboro. I don't want to give you the numbers because what came out of that meeting, there was two different modeled locations that were prepared. And after that discussion, it seemed like the best alternative would be a third location that would have less impact on the Croatan National Forest, be easier to get approved from the federal government. So there will be a third model that is prepared. But I can tell you that the impacts from a traffic standpoint to Cedar Point Boulevard are very significant.
Yes.
In that right now where we're anticipating traffic in 2050 to more than double what it currently is, with a bypass, the traffic would be anticipated to be less than it is now in 2050.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Me too, I don't know what I'll
Do
be
our
driving
business
when I'm
owners think it's
96, but.
Well, the situation there is, which would you rather have
You come
less?
get
And what I mean by that is,
You won't be but.
with a bypass, the traffic count numbers would be low enough to where a super street layout would no longer be necessary to meet DOT standards. So would the preference be at that point, from a business owner standpoint, a median down the middle of Cedar Point Boulevard, making it harder for people to get turned around and get back and still have 70,000 cars per day, or have it a 5-lane as we have it now and less traffic? Knowing that the vast majority of traffic that we have anyhow is just passing through on
I
a
mean, the
daily
bypass
basis.
is the thing to do, I mean, it's just. It's too long, takes too long to drag it out before you do it.
You open a bypass up
Ridiculous.
here, it's not gonna be like the bypass that went around Pollocksville, places like that, and really affected businesses through there. Like the mayor was saying, people that pass through, they just pass through. They're not stopping at businesses anyway.
It would be more like the impact to Maysville than it would be to Pollocksville. Pollocksville, unless you're going into Pollocksville for some reason, you're just going to go by it.
Yeah,
Maysville, everybody is still going through Maysville
sure.
to get here.
To go from New Bern to Jacksonville, they're not, but it didn't have that much of an impact on it. I don't think it's gonna have that much of an impact on us either, having a bypass around there. I mean, as far as the businesses, it's gonna have an impact on traffic though, and it's considerably
I
better.
think the same
impact.
people that are intending to come into Cedar Point to do business will still come into Cedar Point to do business.
Sure,
You're
And those
still
that
gonna
have
have
no
30,000 vehicles.
Hmm?
You're still gonna have 30,000 vehicles.
yeah, exactly.
That ain't changing.
I'd love to see a bypass around here.
So the next step in this whole process is, once we have those new model numbers, it will be presented to the Carteret County Comprehensive Transportation Committee for consideration to put into the comprehensive transportation plan that would eventually have to be adopted by all municipalities in the county. So getting in that plan would be the first step, if you will, first big step to actually having a chance of that ever happening. No guarantee that it ever will.
Right.
But unless it makes it into that comprehensive transportation plan, then it can't be scored by DOT, which means it won't get put on a state transportation improvement plan, which means they'll never get funded. So this is just kind of the first step in having a chance of seeing that sometime in maybe someone's lifetime. I don't.
Probably not mine.
But just wanted to let you know the numbers. I think the crowd from NCDOT were shocked that the numbers were as drastic as they were. They didn't realize how much traffic we have and where that traffic's coming from and where it's going, and when they actually stop to look at it, they seem pretty shocked by it. Some heads up about next month. Sarah Descar from the East Carolina Council of Governments is available. She's willing to provide a presentation on hazard mitigation grant program funds. If you'll remember the discussion we had before about the FMA grant program to help people elevate their houses. This grant program is similar in that it is designed to help people elevate their houses. The big difference in this is that all the town would have to do is submit the names and the application to the state. The state would actually take responsibility for aligning the contracts, paying for the work, and getting reimbursed by FEMA. So all we do is say, is there anybody in town that's interested in participating in this program? If they are, we get their information, we submit the application, and the state takes over from there if the grant's awarded.
So we're financially out.
We're financially out. We're not overseeing the work itself.
That sounds
We
much
take,
better.
we take no risk.
It's not our problem.
Yeah, not our problem.
Yeah.
Much better idea.
And so she would be available to go over that in a presentation format for all of you next month for any questions that you might have on that. Today we did have a meeting with the Pamlico Sound Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan update. We are getting close to finalizing that plan. Once it gets approved by North Carolina Emergency Management, then it will be brought to you for consideration. Maybe next month, but if not, probably the month after that. And then lastly, some of the issues that we've seen over the past year with our most recent snowstorm, the wildfires out in California, the flooding in Western North Carolina, some of the discussions that I've had here recently with a number of other people, we as a town don't have any kind of emergency communications. If cell phone towers go down, if internet goes down, we have no way to communicate amongst staff for addressing any kind of emergency that we might have. I mentioned to you before, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, I looked at what it would take to do our own FCC licensing for the town in much the same way that Cape Carteret and Emerald and Swansboro have theirs for their public works. That cost was about $7,000 to $10,000 by the time you get all the equipment and tower and all that sort of stuff. But I've recently discovered that there may be a cheaper alternative, somewhere in the range of about $2,000, that we could use another set of licensing. It'd still be licensed by the FCC, but it'd be a shared license that we could do that would reach everywhere in town for about $2,000. So it would be a good alternative without being overly expensive for something that, we may only use once in a great while.
You talking about like radios or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
So rather than having a FCC license to operate in some of what would be like the ham channel licenses, the public ones that you hear for the fire and EMS currently, this would be ones that would be shared. Anybody could get a license through the FCC to speak on the GMRS channels is what it would be. You can use base stations, you can use mobile radios, both up to 50 watt limit, and then handhelds up to a 5 watt. So a 5 watt, I actually went ahead and got my GMRS license and tried some of it here in town. And I could get about 3/4 of a mile on a handheld to handheld. So with a mobile station in the vehicles and a base station here, we should be able to reach anywhere in Cedar Point without any issues whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, they got, we do it at the base. They'll go hundreds long.
Yeah.
Get a good one.
Without
Like
a
ESC,
without a repeater.
yeah. They work good.
So would the board be interested in me putting a proposal together along those lines?
Interested in that.
I spoke with Bob Chambers earlier. Those of you that may or may not know him, he retired from the town of Newport. He was their town manager for a while, building inspector. He did everything there at some point. He's very knowledgeable in this sort of stuff, and he said he's willing to meet with me to kind of help put together a plan that'll work. He actually owns some of the repeater equipment that they use locally on the ham stations up near the Walmart in Moorhead. So
Is this something we can use at Cedar Fest also, instead of borrowing the county's radios?
So we could, but we would still want to borrow the counties just because they have 20 of them. And
Okay.
yeah, I
Good
mean,
deal.
we could,
County's a good deal.
yeah,
Yeah,
They work good too.
we could,
Yeah.
if the county decide they did not want to let us use them, you can actually buy a 20 pack of those same exact radios, just like we borrowed, for about $400. And we could program them to be all on the same channel that we currently use.
use our own, I have to borrow.
Yeah. But as long as the county's willing to let us borrow them and they bought them for that purpose, for festivals and that sort of thing,
Yeah,
I don't see spending the $400 just to say we have our own. This would be more or less, if we had a massive, hurricane where we're having to go out as staff and do assessments on what properties are damaged and that sort of thing, what roads need to be closed, all of that. Without having to drive back to one central location to report that information, be able to call it back in. The last thing that I have for you is more of a personal request. This weekend down in Jacksonville, there will be a homeschool debate league tournament. Friday and Saturday, they're looking for some volunteer community judges for anyone who might be interested in being impressed by some high school and middle school and even younger kids on speeches and debates. Their debate topic this year is the United States federal government should substantially reform its healthcare policies. And so they can be arguing anything dealing with healthcare related federal policies. There's 44 teams that are doing that. There's a total of 132 kids that'll be there. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. I think you will enjoy it. Other judges that have done it in the past certainly have. And this year, my wife has kind of been tasked with overseeing this particular competition. So just trying to help her out a little bit as well. Let me know. I'll send you the link. You can sign up. Training will be provided. Food will be provided. If that sweetens the pot any. But please let me know. Phil Davis from our planning board is scheduled to be one of our judges.
Good.
One of the final round judges, actually.
I've got an MSJ due Friday. Ain't happening.
Friday and Saturday.
And then I have to do the chocolate festival on Saturday. So yeah, ain't happening.
All right. That's all I have. You sure?
Okay, James.
I will be out for some of that though.
Yeah.
My turn?
Yeah.
I want to let y'all know that we took, I think, close to 75 coats, hats, mittens, hoodies, flannels, to the Carteret County Public School System. And they assured me that that same day that they came to the schools, they went home on children's backs. So, and it was very, very good for this cold snap that we've had. So I'm excited. I'm continuing to collect them probably through February. But yeah, it's my favorite thing. That's all I have.
That's it. Okay. Public comment? Buddy, you said enough tonight? Kurt, you said enough?
Yes, sir.
Mary Ann, you would like to say something?
Say particularly, but I appreciate your welcome here.
You are welcome here.
About business that went on earlier, though, can I ask a question?
Sure.
You don't have to respond. I would just be curious, when he relocates to that new location, to his previous location, because it was completely designated and he has to start up 100% new, does he have to reapply for, because now he is rebuilding now, does he have to reapply for a special use for his new location?
No, because he has a pre-existing non-conforming use that he has not stopped using.
It's still there.
It's still there.
Thank you. That's all I want to know. Because I know that 50% or less, you don't have to reapply for some of the permits.
For like stormwater permits and things of that nature, for damaged structures.
Thank you. Part of my education.
You're always welcome here.
I appreciate that.
Okay, Frankie.
Don't really have anything, sign down on Jones Street, somebody get. If you didn't know that, I'm not gonna tell the guy.
Citizen?
Yeah, going ones.
Oops.
Speed limit or what kind of
It's
sign?
a stop sign ahead. It's, they
Okay.
broke it off right there.
Doodle was pulling youngins down my street too. He didn't hit. He didn't hit nothing. Unless he was under there.
He's
All over our
actually
neighborhood,
slung his
too.
children into the sign and broke it off. Off at the ground.
Are the kids okay?
Yeah. Look.
Rod.
Pulled them all over.
Yeah,
like
Rod.
that.
Rotten to the bottom. Not that scene.
Other than that, everything was good.
They might have been pulling them out there at the park. That's why all that stuff was slung out there. They're pulling them everywhere
Yeah.
else around town.
Like a sled, like a trash can.
Pull you on all kinds of stuff. Plywood, piece of cardboard, whatever you got.
Boogie board, kayak.
Yep, kayaks,
All
Trash
of it.
can lid.
funniest thing ever,
All of it.
kayak sleds.
Best one I ever rode on was the upside down roof to a golf cart.
Okay.
Mm.
It has that curvature to it, so it's
Mhm.
just like a sled, but it's big enough you can put a couple people on it. Perfect.
All right, John.
I'm good, thank you.
So congratulations, Jane.
Thank you.
It's been fun working with you.
Thanks.
I had a question for you, David. Did we ever get our sign for out on the street here, our digital sign? What are we doing with that? What's the update?
So as of yesterday, I'm still waiting on a bid to come in for that, waiting for their electrician to put together some numbers for us. So working on it.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah. I promise that, they'll really help us out with a great deal when they do it. But it's one of those things that can either be good and cheap, cheap and free, or cheap and bad,
Cheap and never.
It
Cheap
can
and
be-
never.
right, and slow, yeah.
Yeah, cheap and never.
Good, cheap and slow, or
Yeah.
They just don't work
Right,
together.
Gary.
good, cheap and fast don't work.
I'm just looking forward to the Cedar Fest meeting Tuesday and
There you go.
back with that.
Good.
That's all I got to say.
How about you, Jared?
Jane, congratulations on 10 years. That's a great accomplishment and I hope you get some more. Thanks for everything that you do. I do have one question for David. Cedar Point, the old Cedar Point Grill, what's the status? Do we need to reach out to Paul? Do we need to say, Paul, what do we need to do? What can we do to get this resolved?
So Paul basically failed to pull permits to expand out the front of the building.
Right.
We in the county both sent him stop work orders, basically told him to stop until he had proper permits in place. He did not need any permits from us if he wasn't doing an expansion, if all of his work was interior to the building. When he stepped foot outside of it, that's what prompted the need for the new permits. He and I and Alicia and his new grill manager met 2 weeks ago, I think.
Okay.
They came in, Paul was having some health issues you may or may not know after he got back from Western North Carolina. So that kind of slowed him down a little bit. But we met and told him his options. He could either remove that and move forward with the project, or if he wanted to continue it, then he would have to bring other aspects of the project up to current standards, street or landscaping, remarking the parking spaces, identifying them, parking lot landscaping, all of the things that are triggered by an expansion of a footprint of a commercial building. And he left saying, we'll let you know in a few days what we decide to do, if we're going to take it off or if we're going to build onto it. And he actually sent a message over the weekend or Thursday, Friday, in the last few days. Basically saying that they've talked about it and they want to move forward with the addition. So he's working on getting those plans put together to get submitted for approval.
Good. Thank you. I just was, if we needed to help out, I wanted to do whatever we needed to do because it's needed. It's needed and it needs to be completed.
That needs
You
to
know
be
what I mean?
completed, yeah.
So more completed than needed, you know, it's two. but-
You live somewhere to have breakfast on.
No, well, yeah, we need to go somewhere, man. No,
Yeah.
but thank you.
But
Thank you.
yeah, he is working on it. It's, you know, been just
Yeah.
slowness on his end.
He's got to do his stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
We've dealt with him in the past. He's got to do his
I know.
stuff.
That's it. Well, that's good to hear. I appreciate that. Thanks for the follow.
All right. We got a closed session tonight, Mary Ann. We got a closed session tonight, so we're gonna have to ask y'all to step out. See you, Kurt. Thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
buddy.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
I'll be at Cherry Point tomorrow.
You
Okay.
will.